and gentlemen, and welcome to week 6 of Miss Animated's Weekly Roundup. Before we get started, I do want to mention, I watched Delicious Dish Precure. It's okay. It's not really blog-worthy. I thought that, the idea of, I like the heroine, she's cute, but unlike other series, like this one and the previous one, there was nothing really to keep me interested. I know it's only like episode 2, so maybe it'll get better. But I didn't really see any gimmicks with the show. Like, I know in one series, in Healing Good, one of the villains is made from the main character. I know that doesn't make sense. I might go into that at some point. In Mahotsukai Precure, they were in a witch school. In Heartcatch Precure, I forget what the gimmick is, but a lot of these series have gimmicks, or they have a hook to keep you interested. And this series and the last series didn't really have that. They're just kind of themed, and theming is not enough to keep me interested in the show. Also, I just want to say it bugs me that everybody's just kind of okay with that. Like, wait, how the fuck did she know how to do that? But it's not really blog worthy. It's not that interesting. I don't really see myself watching this thoroughly, so I might come back to it at some point. I do find the sidekick characters less annoying than Laura, though, so that's something. But let's get right into the actual, blog roundup of the stuff I am watching. So I am glad we finally get some actual plot point. Like, we know at this point that Hazel is looking for another demon. We're assuming it's someone in Sansa's group. It might be the other, I don't remember his name, but the black-haired one. Not from Sansa's group, the other black-haired one, the priesty one. We do get, I do like the fact that, we see Hazel as a child, and we see he had a connection to this priest. I assume he did something, bad, but I do find that a little bit more interesting than the fact that we've just kind of been trudging along. I don't necessarily think that this series is good, but at the very least, it's not terrible. None of the I love Sayuki anyway, but I mostly like it for the main characters, but it's something. But I find it a little annoying that we're like almost halfway through, and now at this point, we're starting to get an actual plot. They didn't really explain what the thing from last episode either, so that's really annoying. Like, I still want to know what the fuck was up with the murder mystery thing. I don't get that. But, anyway, I hope this actually leads to something, but knowing how this show has been, I don't really think it's going to. So, I was ready to be done with the show. Didn't want to watch it anymore. I think it's obnoxious. I don't like the main characters. I don't like their romance. Ho died, he's dead. And then, like, halfway through, I'm sitting there, and they introduce this new character, and I'm like, oh my god, is that who I think it is? And then we meet him at the end, and yes, it's Ayumi Murase, and I'm like, oh shit, now I'm gonna have to sit through another, now I'm gonna have to watch this show further, because if you don't know me, there is a group of seiyus who, if they play a villain, I'm automatically inclined to watch the show. Kensho Ono, Yuki Kaji, who seriously needs to play another villain because he hasn't played a villain in like 6 years, and oh my god, he's so good at it. Daiki Yamashita, who also hasn't played a villain, and Ayumi Murase. Those 4 particularly, if they play a villain, I'm like, oh my god, I'm watching this show. Like, no, ifs, ands, or buts. If they are playing a villain, I watch the show. So, I don't know its name yet, but he's now in this show for like at least another 2 episodes, so I'm gonna watch the show a little bit more. And it really bugs me because I wanted to be done with it, and I know I could stop, but to tell you the truth, I really want more good, creepy psycho villains, and I'm really glad. Well, that's not exactly true, but we'll get to that in a minute. But gonna keep watching this show. Not really interested, but Ayuma's in the show, and he's playing a bad guy, so thank God. So, another 2 or 3 episodes, and then I am done. speaking of Ayumu in a show, I don't get what this is trying to do. Like, I want to like it, but honestly, I just don't entirely get it. And maybe that's just because I'm not paying attention. Maybe that's just because I don't think the show is doing a very good job of explaining it. I don't entirely get it. I think it's leading up to a battle, but, like, how does this equate her? She did something, Chloe did something, and now she's in pain, and now, something bad is happening. And then at the end, I'm like, wait, I thought they killed that thing. And then they introduce, this is the Queen of the Vampires. And I'm like, wait, what? How? I don't get it. I don't get what this show is trying to accomplish. And it really bugs me because I really do want to like this show, but this show doesn't seem very, very put together, and it's starting to become noticeable to me. But hopefully they explain shit at some point, or hopefully, they actually develop a plot, so I'll give this a little while more. I hope Astolfo doesn't die, though, because if he dies, I'm done. This is one of those situations where I'm literally only watching it for him, and once he dies, or once he's out of the picture, I'm done. Oh my god, we've achieved, actual physical contact. So, I know a lot of people don't like slow burn romances, and I understand why, but at the very least, I think that, they've established they like each other. He's asked him out, and he is freaked out by it, but at least he asked him out, and now he's kissed him on the head, and now they're actually making a lot faster progress than most shows would, because most shows would have taken at least 9 episodes to get to this point. I know I've said, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm really, really, really glad that this show is, actually making progress, and hopefully they can get to the point where they like each other before the end of the season, because I know a lot of people have a problem with shows where the main character, they wait till the end of the season to hook them up. I don't, but it would be nice if they, got to that point a little bit quicker. I don't hate it, but the characters are cute, and I like and the romance is cute, and that's mostly what matters to me. And that's about it for this show. This show is very adorable, and I hope we see some more, I hope at least they establish by the end of the show that they like each other. That's all I'm asking. I hope they actually, officially say that Miyano says, I like you, and they, at least both establish this to each other's faces. Sorry, I had to pause because they've already established individually in thoughts that they like each other, but I meant actually, in person, face to face. So, if you recall previously, I said I was really afraid that the show was just going to introduce Tsugumi as a love interest and as a point of sexual comic relief, and they did exactly that. She was a strong, character last episode. She was standing up to her abusive father, or the person who took her in, and now she's just here for panty shots and to, establish that, she likes them. And it's really frustrating to me because I was like, oh, I know they're going to do this, but then I was given the show the benefit of the doubt because I was like, well, maybe they're not, going to go that far. But nope, they did. I also don't like the fact that everybody's, telling her to leave because they're like, oh, well, if you stay, I forget if it's like he's going to get mad at you or you're going to, have to deal with him again. And I'm like, no. It's fine if you want, and if she wants to cut her, the king tyrant person off, but you telling her that he has to leave because, oh, well, he's gonna start controlling you again, that's stupid. I guarantee you after having his ass kicked by, she's like 13, he's not gonna touch her again. And even if he did, she could kick his ass again, and it makes her seem like she's weak. It makes it seem like, she's a very weak and weak-willed individual to say, oh, well, if you stay, he's going to try and control you again. Well, then she'll just punch him again. It's not it's not for you to decide how she's going to deal with him. And it really, really pisses me off when, and it's an excuse to get her out of the castle and into the group. It's nice that they're establishing their own Bushi, and that's great, but also, I wish this show would have an actual fucking plot at this point, because it feels like they're going from place to a place. It's just picking up characters, and it feels like all those characters are going to be female. And it feels like this is going to turn into a harem show, because it's just... I want to like this show, and I'm going to give it a little more time, but this just really, really irritates me. So, I do admire the fact that they're, actually sticking with a real plot. And that they're, actually, now things are actually coming together, and they're, actually trying to figure out what happened with Kunai, and, how he fits into this whole, thing, and where these drugs, and it's actually a decent plot. I'm still annoyed that, what the fuck does this have to do with, them receiving superpowers, and them getting visions? How does that have anything to do with that? And it feels like, they just completely ditched that plot, but at least it's an interesting concept, and at the very least, I'm grateful that they're actually, I hope they keep sticking with it, because I'm interested to see where this goes, and I'm very, curious to see how they tie this all up, but, this was, I'm impressed that they actually managed to pull something out of it, even though it's middling at best, but it's better than nothing. So, I kind of feel like this show is starting to tread water, because we know that they're looking for the mushroom, we know that he's brought the doctor along, we know that the, doctor's sister is looking for them. I do like that she saves that one guy, but other than that, we really, it hasn't gone anywhere. I know we're only like halfway through, but I'm really annoyed at this point that, they haven't made any actual progress. So, I'm starting to think that this is gonna be a show I drop, because I like shows that, aren't rushed, but they keep moving. They're fast enough that, you get to point A, from point A to point B, and you actually, plot that progresses the story. And it irritates me, because I like this show more than I thought I would, but at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm going, I knew this was going to happen. I knew that, with a story like this, with an open-ended story like this, with no real background, with no real, concise as a plot to drive it forward, that it's just going to keep treading water over and over and over again. And it feels like it's going to be one of those shows where they go from town to town to town, and they have to solve all the town's problems, and then, it doesn't actually lead them anywhere. And I hate shows like that, because shows like that, I want a beginning, a middle, and an end for the show. I like to have an anime with not necessarily linear, but concise, more forward-moving plot. I'm very particular on that point. So, we're gonna have to see with this one, because, it just feels like there's too much room to have the story go nowhere. So, I'm very glad that this show actually managed to wrap up its story. Or at least managed to wrap up, and it feels kind of like, the other one, what's it called, Build, Divide, Code Black, and that you're going to have the main character's plot, and you're going to have the side characters going off to do their thing. I will find it interesting to see, in the future, what kind of teams they go up against, because this show, as I said previously, you don't get your hand held. If you fail, you die. Or at the very least, you get exiled into oblivion. So, the Minato tribe's gonna have to, train a lot and get a lot better if they're gonna beat people in the future. Because these people did not hold back. They did not, Senju was ruthless. They did not, the thing that bugged me, though, and the same thing bugged me from the last episode, is if the whole point was to teach the Minato tribe to be stronger, which is fine, and it's a great way to train them, what the fuck was the point of kidnapping her? Like, if they were just wanted to come up and be like, hey, we want you guys to beat us, we want you guys to prove that you're still a tribe and that you can still take us, just do that. It wastes our time if, there are, fake stakes bug me. Stakes where it ends up being like, oh, actually this wasn't really a thing, I was never really in danger. Well, why do it then? Why go through it? And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, because they wanted to make them feel like there was a threat. No, the threat is that other tribes, your leader got killed. That's the threat. These tribes are not going to hold your hand. And this reminds me of The Incredibles and that speech Helen gives her kids where she's basically like, these guys are not the same bad guys you see on TV. They'll kill you. They will fucking kill you if they get the opportunity. Don't give them that opportunity. And I love that speech because it treats its audience, its younger audience, with intelligence. And the show is eating us with the intelligence that these people are not going to hold your hand. They're going to fucking go for your throat. And I like that. And I wish a lot of more shows did that. I had that same problem with some of the older Yu-Gi-Oh shows, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So I feel like the stakes weren't it was basically fake stakes, but they could have just come up and been like, prove to us you're not chicken, prove to us that you're worthy of being considered Minato's friend, or what's his face, Aoyama, or whatever his name. Prove to us that you're worthy of being considered his tribe. That would have been fine. But I am interested to see where this goes in the future because it feels like we're going to get a lot more ruthless bad guys. So there's that. So what I really like about this show, as I said previously, is that it treats its female characters with respect. Like, in any other show, if they introduced a child character and the first thing that happened was she tried she accidentally saw her naked, but the show would have leaned heavily into her being like, do you want to see more of it? And I'm like, no, ew, gross, That's happened before where, they treat, underage characters, as ecchi jokes, and it's creepy, and it's gross, and I like the fact that, the main character is rightfully freaked out by it, and he's rightfully like, ew, no, oh my god, ew, like, I like that. What I like less, though, is the fact that, then it proceeds to have her, I could have told him immediately that she wanted to see his cosplay outfits, but why would you then have her, like, blackmail him? That's creepy. If I were him, I would have been just like, no, I don't want to work with you, ew, gross, Like, ew, you want to set him up to be a pedo because you just, I don't like you. I don't like you as a person. I did find it funny that she was older than him, though. It's an excuse for loli jokes, and it's creepy and weird. But I do have to give them credit, because at least they're trying to, they're trying, and I do appreciate that, but I don't like the way they got her into the cast, and I think that, it's a huge red flag, but for now, I'm willing to overlook that. I just really hope that it doesn't do anything else with that, like, she doesn't, ew, gross. So, I'm convinced that, at this point, that the author did not have enough material to actually go forward with the actual plot, so now he's just making it a politics story. I don't hate it, but I'm really annoyed by that, because basically, it has nothing to do with what we were introduced to. The idea that, Wayne just wants to, sell off the kingdom, that's gone away. We haven't heard anything about that, It might connect back to what's going on, but I'm not sure it does, because I don't know how any of this relates to that, and we haven't heard from that in a long time. we do find he is going to be. They do say that Loa has control over him, all over some things he does. So at a later point, she could ask him for help, but that's the only thing that I think even remotely relates to that, and it bugs me because him making repeated efforts to get out of being a prince was the only reason I started watching the show, and now I'm getting annoyed that this has nothing to do with that. So I might drop this series. I haven't decided yet. In the next couple episodes, if they don't even bring that up again, I'm probably going to be done with it. So the only thing really of interest in this episode was that despite losing his memory, Yuo seems to know about the different roads and the programming. So that might lead to something, but other than that, I really don't fucking care. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up. Otherwise, I would not have brought this up this episode. That's an interesting point, even though some of them have lost their memory, they still have knowledge of what's going on. So that's interesting to me. We're 80 episodes in, and the show hasn't gotten to the point already. And I feel like, this show has become extremely stagnant. So probably, unless something happens, unless something, gigantic happens, I'm probably not going to cover it. For the foreseeable future. We are, as I said, we are getting a new series, and the new series, hopefully has a more interesting idea, because the protagonist is an alien, which has never happened before. I'm still waiting for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series where the protagonist is a girl, because all 7 series so far, or 8, including this new one, they've all been male, and I'm surprised there has been no female main characters, so that should be interesting at some point if they decide to do that. So, other than that, I'm going to keep watching it, but the vlogging of this show is done until something actually happens. So, I will give the show credit. This idea is a little more interesting than last week's. I do think they're starting to pull stuff out of their ass because they're getting desperate and they just, really, a Digimon called Captain Hookmon? Are you fucking serious? It's so on the nose and it's so stupid that I'm like, they must be pulling stuff out of their ass because there's no other way. The minute I heard that the main villain Digimon was like Peter Panmon, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna have a Captain Hook, aren't they? Because of course they are. The thing about Peter Pan though is he wasn't evil. Like, he wasn't doing it to be evil. He was doing it because he legitimately, his family, he didn't have any family. And he felt like, if I don't grow up, I will never have to deal with this shit, I'll never have to deal with being an adult, and I'll never have to deal with, all the horrible things that come with adulthood. And I don't think the show ever addresses that. I don't think the show, ever, brings any of that up. I do think the idea that Digimon can digivolve without the use of a assigned partner is interesting. Because as you saw, the Hawkmons, their Digimon, the kid did not have a Digivice. So clearly, I think, or maybe it's just because they were in the digital world, and in the digital world you can just, well no, because in previous seasons they still needed a Digivice, but I think that brings up an interesting question. But other than that, I'm getting bored with this show because I'm like, there's no, actual plot. It's all just episodic, and I don't mind a little bit of episodic, but I actually, want them to figure out why these Digimon are coming to the real world and what's going on. But they haven't even brought that up, nor have they brought up, the main character's father, so it's getting to the point where it's just like, okay, we're supposed to just accept this is going on, and they're just gonna, keep solving these problems, and I'm like, it's getting a little bit boring for me. But at least it's something. So if they do another season of this show, I'm not watching it because I don't feel like this is a Digimon series, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, so I will give it that. So, there's not much new in this episode. The kids have a party, and we clearly see that Carl and Claire like each other. And we the only thing of note is that we officially established that Nina and Claire are the same person. But I still stand by what I said last week. I don't know why he hates Nina so much. Maybe it's just because she had his parents executed, but I don't fucking care, I need the show to give me a reason to care. And so far, the show has not given me a reason to care about any of these people. We know that, I think it's Chihara, the one girl, has a crush on her pilot. But other than that, I don't know anything about any of these other characters. Like, I don't know one thing about any of these, we know enough about, Carl. We know his pilot Ariel, we know his childhood friend Ariel, and that she likes him, and that she grew up with him. We know Nina, but that's it. We don't know any shit about any of the other characters in this show. We haven't had any of them developed. They don't have any development. And at least, while I hated Guilty Crown, at least, we gave proper time. They gave proper time to the other characters in the show, And to be honest, I'm not really surprised because shows during the mid-2000s, this show came out in 2011, and this is the kind of show that came out during that. I'm just really, really fucking disappointed. But other than that, that's it for this week, and I will see you in the next volume of my anime roundup. We are halfway done. We're on episode 5, so we're almost halfway done. Woo!